working all over the place. We're doing all kinds of strange things, not perfect. But renovation is not perfect. A lot of renovation is how do you get it to look good, be solid, even though it's not perfect. And some of that is an optical illusion of the way you look at it trim. If you look at it from one angle, it's one thing. You look at it from another angle. Now add a little bit of putty to that. It looks great. It's perfect. Whereas a big crack doesn't look good. So the whole day of working on this, I hope what I've done is tease you into realizing a lot of stuff that sounds strange, sounds like a big job, can be done. Like, can you really strengthen a floor joist? My God, you didn't think you could do that yesterday. But you could sister floor joist. You can put blocking in, learn how to toenail with screws. Because anybody else that tries it without a little training, it skitters along the wood because of the angle. But you learn to punch it in straight and go off at the angle and get it to go in. And the importance of lining everything up, the importance of thinking about safety all the time. And safety, the biggest key to safety, I always say, there was a study done at one point where New England Journal of Light Construction did a study, and it came up that 80% of all the people who had accidents saw the accident coming. They saw it before it happened. 80% of them. And what that says is that we know we're doing something wrong. But why don't we stop? Why don't we change? And anytime you have that gut feeling that, oh, I could lose a finger doing this, take it for granted you could lose a finger doing that and stop. And reposition. Sometimes it's just body position. You're out of balance. And I want to go one more inch with this saw, but I'm going to fall over. You know, and if you do go that last inch, you may fall over, and who knows what happens with the saw while you're falling. So anytime you have an intuition, you feel unstable. I've got all my fingers, no major scars, and I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm 80 years old. Okay? Turned 80 2 weeks ago. Yeah. But I got all my fingers. When we worked in, had a wood shop in Montreal, anytime there was the accident, we shut the shop down, not for a big crisis, to find out what do we have to do to change the tool to make it so that accident can't happen again. It needs a handle on the safety guard because the guy put his finger too close to the blade to open the safety guard. Things like this. One of the biggest accidents we have, most common in construction sites and particularly in renovation, is this one. This is the worst offender. A simple chisel. Everybody thinks they know how to work with a chisel. Well, you learn to work with it a little bit today, and there's a flat side and straight side. But unfortunately what happens is people work with a chisel like this. Okay? And you work with a chisel like that, that takes the thumb right off. Okay? Now it worked. I've been doing this for an hour and a half and there's no problem. I've done 10 pieces already, and then somebody walked in the door and I looked up and I got my finger. And our friend back there, Kevin, can show you scars that come from this particular tool because of just holding down a piece, leaning on a table and working like this. No, you take the time to use blocks, to use clamps, to use whatever it takes so your hand can be behind it or on the tool. Safest thing is your hand on the tool. And the worst thing is working over your kneecap with a saw or anything else. Out in the field, you take a 2x4, you take a circular saw and right across the kneecap. And it cuts right through. If it feels stupid, it is stupid. Okay? And having all your fingers at 80 is not stupid. That's something to keep aware of. So when you feel uncomfortable, you really stop. And you know, also, I always, because I teach so much, I kick myself in the butt often in my own shop. I say, practice what you preach. Okay, I have to tell myself that. But to put on my goggles and put on my headset and for the noise and things like that. But renovation can be enjoyable. You can learn to do it in steps. You can learn by just helping people out and then maybe get to the point where you're able to think about an apprenticeship if that's where you want to go, if you want to do it. But mostly, you could just be an aid to the community, because I've got giving a speech, and you're all invited to it on Thursday, just before you go home. And so I'm giving one of the presentations. And in that presentation, I'm pointing out that maintenance on the houses, if we did proper maintenance on all the houses, we could actually add hundreds of houses to the housing stock a year without building a single one. It's just we stop them from going into demolition. And we stop them early, before it's a crisis, before we have rotten joists. You have a problem with the toilet. You have a neighbor has a problem with the toilet. I say, well, let's take a look at it. Okay, we can lift the toilet and change the seal. I can do that. I can figure it out even just by watching YouTube for a while. You don't need to be a professional to do a lot of this stuff, and particularly to keep the house alive. One of the tiny little secrets I'll give you on maintenance that you can use right this week. Go home, you've got a sliding window that sticks. Anybody got a sliding window that sticks? Yeah, huh? Okay, you pop the window out, you dry it off, you take candle wax. Paraffin is best because there's no colorant in it. And you wax every moving surface on the window and on the frame. And you put it back in. And you move it a bit to get the wax to work in. It'll still get frost, but the frost won't stick to the wax. So you're not using screwdrivers to open the window, so you don't break the window, so we don't get into a cycle of a house that's useless. And it's tiny things like that. And I'm convinced that what we need to do is reach the youth like you to do that. And I have a plan for that I'll propose to everybody on Thursday, the secret weapon for keeping our houses alive. And it all comes through you guys, okay? So I think there's a big role to play in the community, even if you're not a carpenter, even if you don't seem to have any particular skills. And if you start doing it, you'll find a way to collect the tools you'll need to do it. If you need it, a coping saw is not expensive. Now, that's not going to save a house, but as you build up with the tools and keep them sharp, keep them from being rusted, take care of them, take pride in them, it does a lot of things. It changes you. It makes you taking care of something because it's your precious tools. The biggest thing when you started out, when I started, I spent 10% of every paycheck I got on tools. I couldn't afford it. I was a single father and I had a kid. But I disciplined myself to set aside 10% of every check that I got to buy tools. And I bought a bunch of cheap tools on purpose because I needed a lot of different tools to be able to do what I was doing. And as I broke them, then I bought a good tool to replace the cheap one, because I know I use that one a lot. Screwdrivers, some of them I don't ever use. I just thought nice to have one around that's that size. But if I'm using it every day, now I'll buy one that costs a bit more money. You won't like my hammer. I have a stiletto hammer that costs $350. Okay, solid titanium. It wails. It kicks ass on a construction site. But those things are available once you really need them. You get involved in it, and it all grows. If you get started on it, people will start inviting you over. When I was a kid, I got invited by parents in the neighborhood. I was 10 years old. I put everybody's Christmas present together because I was the only guy who could put all the Christmas presents together. So nobody knew what they were getting for Christmas, but I did, because I assembled their Christmas present for their parents. So, and that was very prideful for me and helped me to develop and say, look, I can do that. Sometimes I worked my butt off because I didn't know how to do it, and I had to get it together. But I put myself in a position to push it. Okay. Luckily, I've had the chance of working in Shinto temples in Japan, in finishing shops in France, in my own shop in Montreal, and teaching energy efficient construction to all the contractors in Montreal in French. So I've been doing all of that for a long time. And that's why, not so surprising when I discover I'm 80 years old and I haven't slowed down yet. But and teaching in Pakanjikim, what was a new experience for me last year. But I really encourage you, if you're having fun with this, come in tomorrow. We got a lot of things. A lot of you are doubling up. I love it. And we're going to really put out a good show tomorrow. I want you tomorrow to think about the fact that you learned some things today. If you're working with somebody who has no idea how to do it, take a lead, help them out, help them do it, because you have some training. Can't call it much of training, but you have a little bit of experience, a little bit of fun together. And when you team up, you already felt that, I think, when you worked as two on something, it worked better than working alone. And so team up and help each other out. I hope that might help you in your schooling. I hope you help me tomorrow with this trade show, with this conference. We're going to have a lot of fun, and there are prizes for the ones that win. So lots more giveaways. And we'll see you on Thursday. I want you to think about what you didn't do today that you wish you had done, because we have a little bit of time on Thursday. We're going to meet in this room, and we'll be able to say, somebody says, look, I didn't get to use the jigsaw. What do you want to do with the jigsaw? And we'll set it up so that you can work on the things that you missed. If you want to try coping again, we can set that up. So anything, or if you didn't get a chance to do it today. So we just have that buffer on Thursday morning. And so think about what you use. You got to come forward. You got to ask, and we'll do it. We'll find a way to put it together. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this, and nobody got cut. We totally ignored the St. John's ambulance. That was excellent. They like being ignored and unnecessary. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.